Most short-term rental investors want to maximize their revenue, but let us show you how to do that without the headache of licensing. Alright, so this house is just about 5,000 square feet. It's 4 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. It's really pretty. It's in this gated enclave. It's about 5 minutes away from Summerlin. And this area is really cool. The homes in here are all custom and they have really cool features. So very high ceilings in here, and they're all on larger lots, which this one is around 20,000 square feet, has a really nice backyard. This one, we represented the buyer on this purchase. When the home came on market, it was listed at 1.4, and it hadn't been on market too long. I would say about maybe 2 weeks, and we ended up getting $150 off of the purchase price for our buyer. This client in particular, he likes to buy properties here for the long-term hold, so he rents them out in the meantime and then also gets the money off of appreciation. And he doesn't live here. We do everything remotely. A lot of people just fall into property management. Maybe they had a property somewhere and then they end up moving, so then they can live somewhere else, and then we take care of everything from here. You can be as much hands-on or hands-off as you want. If you want to buy or sell, you don't have to be here at all. You don't even have to see the property. We do very good video walkthroughs and can do start to finish everything remotely.
Yeah, in fact, I think we're listing 2 of his properties right now. So basically, we're renovating both properties, and everything that I've done for the client so far has basically been by video and email, so it's been seamless.
Okay, so one reason that we were able to get such a discount off of the price is because when you look around at the home, it didn't look like how it looks now. So one of the big things buyers want to see is the flooring of the house, and then also bathrooms. Those are big items, and both of those were pretty outdated. So that is something that we fixed in this house, and we'll get more into numbers on that later.
So renovations started around, I would say, between 70 and maybe about 75,000, and that's for flooring, furniture, painting, renovation of all the bathrooms, and some of the work that we did outside. So we're going to start this property off at about 10,000 per month, and that's just our starting point. So a midterm rental is a property that rents for anything over 31 days. So if it's under 31, that would be considered a short-term rental. So a midterm rental is a furnished property that's rented out for 31 days or more. And we don't have a lot of properties in this area. This is one of the larger properties that we actually have in the Summerlin area, and there's been a pretty high demand for properties in Summerlin, midterm rental properties in Summerlin. So I anticipate that we're gonna do pretty good here as far as rent.
So one thing about a midterm rental is you have to be very careful with HOAs because they can shut down the entire operation. When you're in the purchasing process, you want to make sure to take a very good look at the HOA documents if there is an HOA, because it'll say in there how long you can rent a property out for. And a lot of times, sometimes it is 1 year plus. So if it's like that, you can't do a midterm rental there.
Right. Now you could do a long-term furnished rental if your HOA requires a longer lease, and that's possible, but that wouldn't really be considered a midterm rental. A lot of times HOAs, once they find out that you're running a midterm or short-term rental operation, they will look for your property on Airbnb, and they will start sending in the violation notices.
Be really careful with the marketing. If you're going to market on Airbnb as a midterm rental, it has to explicitly be known that it's not under 30 days. And they're nightly until you shut it down.
Yeah. You know, if you have to cancel on a guest, an Airbnb guest, those cancellation fees can be up to $1,000 per night.
On top of the violation.
On top of the violation. So for the management fee on a midterm rental, it's going to be 15%. We have 3 different options. You can do a midterm rental, a short-term rental, which would be under 31 days. For a short-term rental, that's 20%, and a long-term rental, which is a year, that would be 10%. What comes with the service for midterm rental is pretty much boots on ground. So we have a VA that would answer the phone for our client and for guests almost 24 hours a day. They would manage our calendar. We have a project manager that would do all of the inspections. So For a midterm rental, we would basically treat it as a long-term rental operation almost. If we have a guest that checks in and they stay for 30 days, our project manager would basically come in and do a move-out inspection just like we would do on a long-term rental. And that would basically include all of the photos of the bathrooms, the beds, the kitchen. If there's anything missing, we would know about it. Our cleaners use a very specific software that we would use to take time-stamped photos of each of the bedrooms, beds, all of the furniture, and we would be able to document that way. We would do all of the marketing and we would manage the calendar basically. And I think the one thing that a lot of the clients really like is that we have someone that is answering the phones almost 24 hours a day.
That's huge. Like in the middle of the night, you don't want to get a call about your
And we do. So we get a lot of calls, like emergency calls, hot water gone out, there's a leak, things like that. We get those. And so we always have someone to answer the phone and get to those things pretty quickly. So generally for a midterm rental, a lot of people think that it would be a traveling nurse, and that's really not the case. What I've noticed is we have a lot of families that relocate to Las Vegas. And when they relocate, they like to come and stay in a midterm rental because it's fully furnished. And it's basically just, their suitcase, their luggage, their kids, and they can just basically check in and they have all of the appliances here. We also get a lot of families placed by their insurance companies. So if they've experienced a flood or a fire, or just a situation that would require an insurance claim, their insurance would basically put them into the midterm rental. And having an insurance company place the family in a midterm rental is great for both. So it's great for our client and it's great for the family because the insurance company is basically, you're guaranteed that you're going to be paid.
There's so many people moving to Vegas right now, and there's so many things coming here that I think there's a huge need for luxury short-term and midterm rentals, especially, like LA, Miami,
Yes.
Big cities, they have luxury homes already set up for all these, but Vegas kind of we need more.
And I actually had a midterm rental that we manage, and we've already had 2 pretty high-profile athletes stay in them. So there's definitely a need, I think, for the luxury market in midterm rental, especially like you said, with all the sports coming here.
Okay, so the renovations on this property, it took around 3 months from close of escrow until now, and it was around $75,000, which is really good for a property this size. So we redid all of the downstairs flooring. We saved the client some money by keeping some of the flooring upstairs. Redid all the bathrooms upstairs and then also the kitchen. We changed that a lot. So we're able to get things done pretty efficiently and also at a really good price because we have good relationships with a lot of vendors here. Price also includes all of the furnishings and also a professional designer with that. Okay, so what are the pros versus cons of having a midterm rental versus either a Airbnb or just doing a long-term rental?
With a midterm rental, you have way less maintenance. With a short-term rental, you're looking at way more occupancy, more chances of your furniture being destroyed. There's more chances of your pool equipment either going out, pool cleanings. There's just a list of items that you're going to deal with when you're doing a short-term rental. Obviously, your revenue is going to be a lot higher doing a short-term rental, but with a midterm rental, the pros to that is you still get a higher revenue because it's a furnished rental. You're going to get higher revenue, but your maintenance is going to be a lot lower. With a long-term rental, the benefits to that is your occupancy is probably going to be a lot steadier than a midterm or a short-term rental. You're going to have a tenant there, and the tenant will pay all of the utilities. And with a midterm rental, you're probably going to be stuck with the utilities. I mean, a lot of the investors want to do short-term rental because obviously the revenue is high. But what's happened in Vegas is the city has basically cracked down on all unlicensed short-term rentals. So with the crackdown, violation notices have gone up. And with the violation notice, a lot of our clients don't want to take the risk with having to pay $1,000 a day. And so they've done a pivot and gone to midterm rental.
I think that's the majority of our midterm rentals that we manage come from they were previously short-term, maybe illegal ones, and then when they get shut down, eventually you change strategies and make it a midterm.
And with turning a property into a midterm rental, it's fairly easy. You have a short-term rental and you want to pivot to midterm rental because property is already furnished. You have basically all of the supplies. With a midterm rental, you don't need all of the supplies like you would need with a short-term rental. So the pivot to going to midterm rental is very easy. So a lot of our investors that have changed to midterm rental, it was pretty seamless.
So one really important thing about having a midterm rental, short-term too, long-term not as much, but it's going to be the amenities. And the backyard is super important. A lot of people come to Las Vegas and they find a midterm rental and they want to spend a lot of time outside, even if it's winter and it's really cold for us. Then they want to be in the pool, even if it's so cold and like maybe from the Midwest or somewhere where they're not used to, even not being snowy.
One thing that you want to be sure of if you're doing a short-term or a midterm rentals, you want to have your pool heated.
This one has a ton. It has space, it has the grass, has a huge pool and a spa. The lights look good, a place to sit. You want a fire pit, which is a very easy add. Barbecue, and then also what we love now is adding like a pickleball court because everybody loves pickleball, or some kind of sport court in the backyard. But anything that you can add that makes it like a little bit different or interesting.
A lot of our midterm rentals, we've actually turned like a little space, a dedicated area for the guests to bring their pet.
And that differentiates it a lot also from other rentals because a lot of owners are not okay with taking on pets. But I mean, as long as you have the procedures in place and deposits, I think that's a huge item that guests will look for.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about short or midterm rental investing, then subscribe. And if you want to work with us, send us an email at sales@cgvegas.com or schedule a booking below.